It is Wednesday, the 30th of May 2018. Welcome to another edition of the Steem Radio Show live on MSP Waves, presented to you from a chair in the US and a couch in the Netherlands. So fasten up your steam belts and get ready for a steamy ride on the waves. My name is Poetic Snake, and as always, I am joined by the one and only Main Event. How are you doing today, Main?
I am doing wonderful, Snekky. Thank you so much for that great introduction. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm slithering fine today.
Wonderful. It is certainly great to have you all here with us here on MSPWaves Radio. As she said, it's the 30th of May, 2018, and we are here with you again for another edition of the Steem Radio Show. And what this show is, it's a weekly broadcast here on MSP Waves where we chat with different members from the Steem community. People who are either maybe they're bloggers, they could be witnesses, maybe they're community leaders, project creators. A wide variety of people join us on this show each and every week, and you can join us as well, can't they, Snekky?
Oh, absolutely. The more the better, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this show now almost a year. Another couple months here, we will be celebrating a year here on the waves, and it's been a lot of fun. We've had a chance to chat with dozens of people from all over the world, all different backgrounds and experience levels with this Steem blockchain. Some of the people on the show have been people who were literally brand new. It was maybe their first week here, and sometimes we chat with people who have been here from its very start.
And every story is amazing to hear, no matter how long they have been here on the platform.
Yeah, and it's always different too. That's the other cool thing about it is no two stories are ever the same. Every person's going to have a completely different experience here on the Steem blockchain. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And does it feel different for you now that you have been here for over a year?
It does. There was quite a learning curve, from when you first joined the platform, and your excitement level and all that stuff. It changes over time, and thankfully I'm still excited. I'm still happy to be here after a year, but no, it's I've mentioned it before. It's kind of like it was the longest year of my life, though, too. you know, I at least it feels that way. We certainly put a lot of time and effort and energy into either posting or learning about it or being on Discord and all the different communities and doing these radio shows. It certainly was a lot of time and things, but we've met so many wonderful people because of it. Like Snekky, you and I have become good friends and co-hosts of this radio show because of the Steem blockchain, and the dozens and dozens of other people that we interact with all the time. And that part is amazing. So it's that part is going to still be a good thing for as long as it exists, in my opinion. As long as these wonderful people are still here, it won't matter if we've been here for a year, 5 years, whatever. As long as that the different variety of people are still here, then it will still be fun.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. It's the community that has kept me here for a long time. It's been a bumpy ride for most of us. You go to all kinds of emotions. And oh, I see an apple from Starkers. That is amazing. Thank you, Starkers.
Yeah, and it's certainly been a long time that you've been here too. You've been here for 2 years now, almost.
Yeah, next month it will be
I was just
two
gonna ask
years.
you. Yeah, so it's next month is your 2 year anniversary.
Yeah. And I think that is, a reason to have cake or something, like a huge pie. I don't know.
We'll have to make you an apple something with apples in it.
Oh, yes, please.
But no, everybody, it's certainly great to have you all here with us live on MSP Waves. And if this is your first time joining us on the radio station, welcome. We are hanging out on Discord right now in the Peace, Abundance, Liberty server. That, of course, is the home of the Minnow Support Project, a wonderful community where you can hang out, you can learn, you can chat with different people, hopefully make some friends, and, of course, listen to this radio station, which is MSP Waves. The audience chat is also found in that same Discord server. It's just the room called MSP Waves Audience. And you can chat along with us in the chat room during the show live. See here. Who's all in here anyway? I see lots of people. I see lots of names flying by. So big shout out to everybody who is listening. I see Yogi in the chat, Breeze, Anarcho who's going to join us on the show tonight, M1, Johnny Clearwater, Graylin. Let me scroll back a little bit. Shadows Pub. All kinds of people in there chatting. Starkers, of course, going to join us on the show tonight as well. So yes, Starkers and Anarcho both joining us on the show later on, coming right up here shortly. So that's
and I want to say hello to Breeze. Hello, Breeze. Sorry.
Oh yes, and a little bit later here, once we get going here, we'll run down through the list of all the people who are listening, kind of give everybody a quick shout out.
Absolutely, and keep the apples coming, people.
All right, well, certainly great to have you here. And again, as we mentioned, you can certainly be a guest on the show as well sometime. Just certainly send myself, Main Event, or Poetic Snake a message on Discord and let us know you are interested in being a guest. And, you don't have to have a specific project or thing you want to talk about. It's just always cool to hear your story. So if you'd like to have the community learn a little bit more about you, just let us know, and we'd be happy to have you on the show.
Absolutely. And everybody has a different story, so everybody has something to tell. And don't be shy. It's very laid back, just a casual interview, just having a lot of fun.
And before we get going too far here, Snekky, I'm going to play your disclaimer.
Oh, no, I will put my fingers in my ears. You are listening to the Steem Radio Show on MSPWaves. Everything you hear on this show is our opinion only and should not be taken as financial advice or advice of any kind. This show is strictly for entertainment purposes only. MSPWaves Radio and its owners take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show host or their guests. Statements or show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of the radio station. The material on the Steem Radio Show is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research.
That is correct.
Yes, always do your own research.
I like being able to just play your voice on command like that. That's convenient.
It's kind of weirds me out. I don't know. Just hearing yourself talk, man, it's just really weird.
I know, right? Yeah, sometime we'll have to work on maybe doing a few more promos for the show and things like that to get a few more things out there. People like hearing your voice, Snekky. You got to talk more on the show.
I don't know why. I mean, your voice, you have this amazing radio voice. So I think we should do, record all those things again and then you doing it.
We'll see. Maybe. Balance with everything. But
okay, balance is good.
Snekky, do you have any other things going on you want to mention before we get going here? Any posts that you've done recently or projects or anything you want to mention? You want to mention the curation project real quick?
Yeah, sure. I'm still working very hard on the manual curation project. You got snacked. It's going well. 4 amazing curators on the team right now. You're one of them. And I just think that manual curation should be growing bigger and bigger. So if you always wanted to be a curator, either join curator projects like OCD or Curry, or you can even join mine or start your own, because curation is just so important for this platform.
Yeah, I agree. We've mentioned this, lots of times on the show, how important curation is, so we won't get into all that in this issue. But, it's a good thing for people to at least look into, especially if you're maybe someone who does create content, but maybe you don't do that all the time or something, but you like reading content and taking in different things. So, you can be out there in the community leaving comments. You don't always have to leave, big 100% upvotes on everything. You can at least give people some feedback on their posts. I'm sure they'd be appreciative of that too. Votes obviously are good and re-steams and that type of thing, but just leaving genuine feedback is always a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that the vote should not, or at least I should say, in my opinion, the vote is not the most important thing. If you're a new user, what you need is a audience. So re-steams or being featured in the bigger users' posts gives you that, hopefully, that attention that you need to gain your followers. And of course, a big vote is, a happy feeling. I mean, I remember how it felt when I was new and I got my first big upvote. I was like, oh my God, this is heaven. And then I started to realize that having views and readers is way more important.
Absolutely. I said it. We keep track how many times we say that in the show.
What word?
The A word.
Absolutely. For sure.
Apples. A is for apples. No, I don't know.
Yes, A is for apples.
All right. Let's get back on track here. So, yes, you are listening to the Steem Radio Show with myself, Main Event. I just spell it with the number 1 in there instead of an I. And she is Poetic Snake.
Oh, yes, that's me.
And if our guests are ready, we might as well go ahead and bring our guests onto the show. They're going to kind of come on here at the same time because they are working on a few different projects together. Starkers, you've been on the show before. Welcome, Starkers, back to the show.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be back. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Starkers. It's good to have you back again.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be on.
And we have a new guest also here with us tonight, Anarcho Tech. Welcome to the show.
Hello, how are we all?
Doing wonderful.
Good. It's always interesting getting Starkers and myself on together because it's been said once or twice that we have a bit of a bromance going on. And I'd just like to, for the record, say right now, we definitely don't have a bromance going on. So yes, please don't talk about that at all because that will, that won't be good.
Just good friends, right? Good friends.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just good friends and nothing else. Isn't that right, Matt?
That's what we tell everybody. Yeah, that's what we tell everybody.
Yeah.
I hear a bromance.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Well, it's certainly great to have you guys on the show. Starkers, if you don't mind, since you've been on the show before, just kind of remind everybody where you're from in the world and, how long you've been on Steem and some of the things that you're working on.
Okay, guys. I'm at Starkers on Steem, and I've primarily been involved in the Promo Steem project. I started that in August last year. I was on Steem about 3 months before that and just couldn't help but get involved in one of these projects. So we ended up setting up this Promo Steem project to encourage and reward people for promoting the Steem blockchain. So anyone that's out there who's promoting Steem, be that out in the street, at university lectures, doing presentations to investors at investor shows, or whatever it be where you're talking the Steem blockchain and the things that it can do, we ask people to post to the hashtag promo-steem tag, and we have a guild in there that's decentralized called the Steem Ambassador Guild. And we've appointed many Steem ambassadors to curate that guild who are credible Steemians and basically reward anyone for promoting and doing great quality promotional work on the Steem blockchain. So that's kind of where I'm at, where I've come from. And we'll discuss a little bit more about what we're doing going forwards, but I'll pass over to you guys for the next bit.
Yeah, and if anybody's interested, you can certainly hear our previous interview with Starkers, where he kind of went into more of his, the backstory of how he found his way here to the Steem blockchain and things like that. So if you want to check that out, you can certainly go back and find that interview as well. But Anarcho Tech, so you're a brand new guest here on the show. It's certainly wonderful to have you here. Tell our listeners, whereabouts are you in the world this evening? What country are you in, if you don't mind?
I am in the north of England, in a very beautiful place called the Colne Valley, which is in a less beautiful sounding place called Huddersfield. It's very late here at night, and it's full of countryside and lots of hills and lots of green, which is really lovely. So that's where I'm talking to you from.
And how long have you been on the Steem blockchain, and how did you find your way here?
Well, I found my way. Somebody's just said Hoddlesfield. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, do you know it's funny because they say that people from Huddersfield are so mean with their money. They say that they're like Scottish people with all the generosity kicked out of them. And having lived here for many years, I can definitely tell you that that's true. But to answer your question, I've been on the Steem blockchain since April of last year, and I kind of came across it quite by accident. I'd been one of those people. I probably would have been involved in Steem and Steemit and all sorts of other blockchainy things many years before, had I not gone and become a father about 4.5 years ago, and my life kind of went on hold for a bit. And I actually remember that I was going to be buying, I was sat there about to buy a ton of Bitcoin back in the day when it was like we were talking in a few dollars. And my wife at the time said to me, don't buy that stuff. We've got a new baby coming. We need to save all our money. Yeah, she doesn't say things like that to me anymore, which is quite nice. But I probably came to Steemit and discovered it, and I had this sort of almost, oh, this is really interesting moment, because I'd suddenly been getting very interested in the blockchain, and it was mainly because I came from the world of humanitarianism, and I was really interested in the open source world, and what some of the guys in the open source world were doing to alleviate humanitarian problems. And one of the guys I followed had started talking about Ethereum and a few other blockchains, and he kind of led me onto the whole blockchain as something other than just finance idea. And I hadn't really thought about it because, my life had gone on hold for a few years with, being a new dad. And yeah, I kind of fell into it and went, this is really, really brilliant, but utterly confusing all at the same time. And it took me a while to get my head round what this thing was, and when I kind of got it, I was like, holy moly, this is something else. There's so much more to this interesting blockchain than just blogging and social media. There's so much more, and so really the journey that I've gone on over the year has been about that, really learning what else can the Steem blockchain be used to do, and how can it generate value. And for me, I've always got an eye on humanitarian stuff, and that's kind of in a way colored a lot of what I've become interested in. And I really see something here on the blockchain that's got massive real world potential. That's, I'm not quite sure whether people in the other blockchain space who've ignored Steem up until now are quite realizing. And that's very interesting. And I just kind of want to tell people about it and let them know, hey, look, there's something very cool over here if you use it in lots of interesting and creative ways. So that's kind of where I came from and where I've ended up. Really. And every day, Starkers and myself, we probably come up with about 5 new great ideas for the Steem blockchain. It's incredible that the sort of things we can think to do with it. And, we could never do them all because we just wouldn't have the time. But, it blows me away how cool this thing is.
Exactly, and there's probably so many other things that haven't even been thought of yet too. And it is amazing how so many different people from different walks of life, different experience levels, all these things are finding different ways to create and do things because of this Steem blockchain. It is truly fascinating.
Yeah, Yeah, it really is. And, I suppose in a way I've run the risk at times of becoming a real Steem anorak and boring everybody in my life that doesn't really know about blockchain utterly to death with just talk about the blockchain in general, about Steem, about what you can do with it, about what's going on it. It's it's very interesting, but I've found incredible ways of losing lots of my traditional friends from around here from talking about it too much. But equally, I've made tons more on the blockchain, which is great. So clearing out some of the old acquaintances has been one of my has been one of the interesting side things that's come out of this blockchain for me.
Yeah, and who knows, down the road, some of those people might eventually find their way to the blockchain, and they might come back to you and say, hey, remember you were talking about that blockchain stuff a while ago?
Yeah,
what's that all about?
I sincerely hope they do. I had one friend of mine listen about a year and a half ago when I said, hey, listen, maybe it's a good time to start buying some of this stuff called Ethereum. He'd never heard of it. And he bought an absolute shit ton of it when it was quite cheap. And he took me for a spin in his Ferrari a couple of months ago that he bought with the Ethereum that he'd purchased 18 months ago on my recommendation. So, some of the people that listened back then, they're all really well right now, which is fantastic.
Right. And I mean, of course, always do your own research, people. We don't know what's going to happen.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So, it's been interesting just seeing how it's all developed over the last year with all the hype and all the FUD and the more I talk to people about the blockchain, the more I realize is that the majority of people that are looking at blockchain technology at the moment, they don't really understand what it can do. I think a lot of them are still thinking in that financial place, but there's definitely more of a movement that I've seen of people thinking about what else can you do here, and so I think that's where the next 12 months is going to be really interesting. I'd kind of like to hear what Matt's got to say on that, because he always manages to have an interesting take on it as well.
What's that? Where this whole thing's going to go, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, regards to Steem, I've been around Steem for about a year and a half now, kind of watching it. I've been involved in it for a year. And I'd say in the last 6 to 8 months or so, I've kind of started to realize what this thing potentially could be. And this is just me personally, other people are realizing it at their own paces. But it's primarily been a blogging platform so far. So I'd say 99% of people on the platform are bloggers. And me not being a blogger, I'm actually an investor. I originally invested in Steem a long time ago. And in terms of adding value and looking after my investment, I'm interacting with the Steem blockchain and trying to build value on here. And I started to realize that this is actually not necessarily a blogging platform, right? Obviously, Steemit.com is the blogging platform. But as we grow, as people work on projects such as the projects that Dylan and I are working on, it starts to become an investment platform and a business platform and a value provider to interested parties. So, basically, one of the things that we're setting up at the moment is a model where investors can invest and build communities off the back of that investment using the Steem blockchain and distributing funds to creators who want to interact with that community in a decentralized way. And this is completely new in the world. There's never been anything done like it before. And it's going to bring new investment into the Steem blockchain. It's going to pay the people who interact with that system. And so it becomes a new business, essentially, on the Steem blockchain. And so this is what's going to happen more and more as we go forward over the next few months and maybe a year or so. You're going to see hundreds, I think, of businesses popping up that are actually generating a profit using the Steem blockchain as a mechanism to do that. So far, we've seen lots of people like asking for delegation, trying to work their way around the Steem platform by getting paid in Steem by Steemians. Whereas one of the things that we're working on really that's quite key is that we're looking at bringing outside investment in and then paying people with that. And I think that as we go forwards, we will see a lot more people working on those types of mechanisms to provide for additional investment into Steem and make the whole blogosphere sustainable as we go forward, because there's going to be new investment coming in. So it's really exciting times, and I really think that's where this thing's going to go as we go forwards.
Yeah, it'll be certainly interesting to see how this next year goes. A lot has changed even in the 1 year I've been here so far, and it'll be really exciting to see where everything goes. It's a forever evolving space. It seems like things are changing constantly. There's different things happening. More people are joining the blockchain, and it's just constantly changing all the time. And it's really cool to see these things like you guys are creating. Not only the Promo Steem initiative and all of that is really awesome, seeing people actually going out there and, doing events and sharing this with their communities and, their college friends or wherever they're doing their thing. And that's really awesome. And then to see how now that's evolving for you guys into even more projects like the one you just mentioned. It's really cool. Either one of you, where you want to take this, if you want to kind of walk us through how you are transitioning from doing the Promo Steem project and where that's going, and then now you're kind of doing this new venture. If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Dylan, what do you think, my bromance friend?
I think lots of things, not always things that are on topic, but if you want to answer that one, please go ahead. If not, I'm more than happy to.
Okay. I won't put you on the spot anymore, mate.
All right. Thanks very much for that.
So you can buy me a beer later. So the Promo Steem thing, we essentially built a community, and it's not just us, there's multiple, probably 20 or 30 people that really regularly contribute. There's a network of Steem ambassadors who have been elected by the community to represent the community, create on behalf of the community, and promote on behalf of the community, and provide that example for the Steemians. And then there's all the thousands of promoters. And I know Dylan likes quoting these figures, so he might be able to correct me, but since August, the community's had 2,800 separate promoters, people who have posted blogs about Promo Steem. It's had 12,000 individual posts written, and it's had over 300,000 interactions via likes, and that's not including comments. And so we have this this huge network that's kind of sprung out of nowhere. It also, a couple of weeks ago, as far as I remember, and again, Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong, the tag has distributed over $1.2 million in Steam-backed dollar rewards to people. And that just blew our minds to think that from our small pot of Steam, that now there's enough people watching the tag that there's that type of Steam-backed dollar being distributed. And basically what we did from the very, very start, and Dylan's key in this, and this is where he really plays a key part in the team, everyone in the current system has a way to think in a centralized way. And so we were kind of developing the Promo Steem movement, and it was kind of becoming a little bit centralized. And we were kind of thinking, how do we move forwards with this? And Dylan was the one that kind of pulled us back and said, hey, hold on, guys. How can we make sure we do this in a really decentralized way? And from that came the campus guild mechanism, where we have a distributed voting mechanism where the central part of Steem ambassadors, delegated Steem, only votes if 3 or more Steem ambassadors vote on one particular post. So it's very hard to corrupt that system. And if it is corrupted, it's very easy to see. And so we kind of built this whole thing, and it's become decentralized, and it's starting to become autonomous in the way that the community runs it on behalf of the community. So what we're looking to do over the next weeks and months is to slowly remove ourselves from the Promo Steem process. We'll still have a hand in it to make sure it's running okay. But the key thing is that we step back and allow the community to run it. And we nearly have a lot of the things in place to do that already. So we're really excited about that happening. And what that's going to allow us to do, we've realized, is that we can now take the Promo Steem proof of concept with all the sort of little nuances that go within that, and how to manage it, how to build these communities, and take that now to other clients, be them charitable organizations, be them corporate organizations, be them clients, be them other investing companies, exchanges, or housing projects we're working with, and all sorts of other things. They want to invest money into Steem to hold the Steem token and have a community built in a similar way to what Promo Steem was built. And so we're now transitioning across and actually working like a pair of madmen, along with a few other people around us, who are working hard to make sure that we get this project implemented in the same fashion that Promo Steem was implemented, but just on a much wider scale, serving multiple pots of clients' Steem. and then building communities and rewarding authors for interacting with those communities, basically. And so that's where we're kind of moving towards now. We're trying to keep as much a similar model as Promo Steem because that works so well. And just excited to see what happens next.
It's certainly been really cool to watch it grow and evolve over the last, bit of time. Because when did you first do the little campus tours that you did? Was that like last fall or last summer?
That was September last year.
Yeah.
We went a bit crazy going around the country and actually going and talking to people in the street about Steemit. And we were a bit like evangelical Christians, if you like. It was a fantastic experience. We kind of went around just talking to people about Steem. Most people said, "Get lost, you don't know what you're talking about." So we refined our techniques and got a little bit better as we went on. Then we ended up making deals with universities. We've spoken in a couple of universities since then as well. And the idea was to make a couple of little pockets of Steem around the country. And then, of course, once you're on Steem, the thing should grow as university campuses get involved. So that's slowly happening. And we're seeing the Steem movement in the UK grow significantly. I don't know whether that's fully due to my university tour. Maybe I scared a few more people away than I actually attracted. But it was great fun, and it was a great thing that we documented and pushed out to the community to show everyone. And it took off because other people were like, "Oh, right, I can do this as well." So people all over the world started doing the same thing, and that was the thing that really blew my mind, is that what I did, simple Matt in the university in the UK, was replicated by all sorts of other people in their own special way all over the world. So that was absolutely brilliant to see.
I think what was really interesting was that what started happening is other people came up with some really amazing creative ideas that we'd never even thought of. We've started to see people doing things like skydiving with banners and going underwater and deep sea diving with banners, and it was kind of really funny to see things like that, but all sorts of very, very cool things started springing up, and seeing people go, doing all sorts of almost performance art and things like that. It was great. And then something really bonkers for me started happening. We started realizing that people were starting to connect promoting Steem with doing really nice things for people. So we were starting to see little bits of humanitarian work popping up here and there. And, people doing things like wearing Steem t-shirts and going to feed orphans in orphanages in Africa. And we were going, wow, that's great. And they're doing it as a we're spreading the message of Steem in a really nice, positive, way. And we thought, well, that's really cool. What else is going to happen now? And some of the things that people were doing were bonkers. And we kind of started realizing that, originally we'd been, kind of curating on this ourselves and just kind of trying to reward people with the little bits of Steem that we had. And then we kind of realized that we couldn't do it. Otherwise, there was now so much happening that we literally would be sitting at our computers 24/7, trying to reward all the great things that were happening. So that's why we built this idea of a decentralized voting guild, and then made it automated. And it went through a couple of different incarnations, and then it came out that we got it in the way that we wanted it. We talked about it for months. I mean, literally, Matt and myself. I never saw the back of him. He was on a video conferencing every single night, and that's kind of continued, which is probably why people think we have a bromance. But actually, it's just us normally arguing about Steem. But when this thing kind of started to blow up, we realized that we had to, in a way, sort of almost build ourselves out of it and see if we could create a community that would effectively be able to support itself. And, obviously it takes time for anything like that to happen. And we kind of almost found ourselves like the de facto leaders of this, but we didn't particularly want to be. I personally would much rather see a community that totally supports itself, and people volunteer to take responsibility for certain things, but the community ultimately are the ones that make the decisions. And it's quite challenging to build something like that. And I'm sure we haven't got it perfect. And I know that there are certainly some problems with every model, but we've done everything that we can to get to a point where we could almost step away from it and know this is just going to run itself. This is going to be wonderful, and we can pop back in and help out and do our bit, or we can just kind of let the community run itself. And now we're starting to get reasonable delegations into the Steem Ambassador Guild from lots of people. I think we have, I can't even remember how many it is. It's about 25 people that are delegating to the guild now. And we've started to build a sizable pot of steam, and that's all used to reward people that are doing great work. And the community says, yeah, we like what you're doing, and it's nothing about us. So that for me was great. And obviously now it's allowing us to think about, well, what else can we do? How else can we support the communities? How else can we support the blockchain? And bring and really bringing in external investment, as Matt was saying before, is we think is one of the big things that we can do. Bringing new money into the blockchain that effectively attempts to direct the rewards to really, really high quality stuff. We know there's a lot of low quality content that's going onto the blockchain, and we definitely feel it's important to not necessarily to try and come down hard on it, but to lead by example, if you like, and try and build something where we could really encourage and really motivate and really help people to maximize earnings from doing great work, whatever that may be. So that's kind of where we've got to.
And I'm kind of curious because, you guys have been in this circle now for quite a while of people around people who are wanting to promote the Steem blockchain and everything. So yeah. I don't know if you want to answer this. If you don't, that's fine. But I'm curious. So if you were to try to present the Steem blockchain to someone new that has no idea what it is, what would you tell them? Like how would you tell them even what it is? Because I struggle with that a little bit. Like when people say, oh, what is that you're doing or whatnot, I kind of think about it for a minute and I'm like, how am I going to phrase this where they won't have any idea what I'm talking about? So I'm kind of curious what you guys would, I don't want to say suggest, but how you would, if anybody out there is listening and they're kind of curious as well, how do I share this with my friends and family or whoever?
Sure.
How would you do that exactly?
Well, interestingly, Matt and myself, we've spoken to, so many different people now, from, friends and family through to, random strangers that we just walk up to in the street, through to, people at small workshops, right through to being on stage at some of the cryptocurrency shows. And I got to tell you, one thing that's really striking is that we never tell it the same way twice. It kind of seems to me that what we're keen to do is to try and understand the person that's in front of us each time, or the group of people that are in front of us, and try and we do have to mind read a little bit, but do try and really figure out, well, where are they at? What's their level of knowledge and understanding about these things? And we don't always get it right. So I think for me, I'd say it's really hard to say how we define and describe the Steem blockchain, because it kind of changes from time to time. And I'd say usually we're able to describe it quite well in a way that person will really connect with. And I think that's been one of the skills that we've brought to the table, is that we have got that inherent understanding of an ability to talk at many, many different levels.
To talk the hind legs off a donkey.
Yeah, that's true as well. What we try not to do is we try not to get too technical with people, because what we tend to find is that apart from people who are already hardcore devs, everybody's eyes seem to glaze over when you talk too technical at them straight away. So we tend to talk about it in, terms of, trying to understand what this could mean to them, to make metaphors that, might be relevant to their lives. And that so far, touch wood, has been an interesting way of doing it. Matt, I don't know what you want to add to that.
Yeah, I echo similar sentiments. One of the things I'd like to say is that there is a different approach depending on who you're speaking to. So, if you end up getting yourself in front of a large investor, you want to talk about either how they can maximize their returns on their investment, or you want to talk about what you can use the Steem blockchain as a mechanism to do for them and attract them in that way. It's not just about, talking about blogging. It's about all the different business opportunities that you can build, because basically you can use the Steem blockchain and the blogs that are produced around a community to mine Steem, right? So you can distribute those Steem to reward people for doing certain activities for clients. So clients might want you to document a humanitarian initiative that they are pursuing, right? Or they might want to market that humanitarian initiative. Or, there's all sorts of different things that a large size investor could be wanting. And I'm not just talking about people who are just trying to make a return. I'm also talking about people who are companies or organizations or humanitarian organizations that have a key initiative behind what they do. So that's one thing. So that's the investor side. If you're talking to someone who might end up becoming a user, of course, if they have a specific niche that they're a user for. So if we now have the beautiful ability over the last few months to talk about places like DLive, to talk about places like DTube, to talk about DMania, or I can't think of them all at the moment, but there's Utopian. There's so many applications of the Steem blockchain now that you can say to people, hey, if you're not a blogger but you like to do a bit of coding, go to Utopian. If you're not a blogger but you like to do video or live streams or play your games or whatever, go to DTube and DLive. If you're not a blogger but you like to do memes, go to DMania. See what happens. And then finally, there's obviously the bloggers and people like that. So that you can cater to all these people when you discuss about the blockchain now. One of the things that I think is a big error that people do, a massive mistake that we've all been guilty of, I know I have, is where I've gone to someone and said, hey, do you blog? Do you post to Facebook? And they go, yeah. And I go, do you get paid? And they go, no, we don't get paid. And then we go, do you want to get paid? Right. And then as soon as you say that, people are like, okay, what's this? So now all of a sudden you've got their interest, and you show them the Steem blockchain, or you get their, go through Steem Invite or whatever, and you get them onto the Steem blockchain. They start blogging, right? And this is what happens to nearly everyone on the Steem blockchain. They start blogging, and they don't make much money initially, and then most of those people say, well, it's rubbish, then I'm leaving. And the reason for that is there's a couple of reasons, but it's to do with the fact that the whales haven't got enough eyes to see all of the new users all the time. It's to do with the fact that the new Steemians that come on are sold on this idea that Steem is about just blogging and making a living blogging, when it's actually bloody hard work if you want to do that. And it's not just about blogging, it's about all of these other things that I've just mentioned. And one thing that we don't do very well as a community is advertise or market the fact that Steem isn't just about blogging, it's about a lot more. And if we can educate ourselves on what that lot more is, what those other opportunities are on Steem, you can start talking to a much broader range of people and catching the ear of a much broader range of people. One of the things that I'm doing with a couple of the guys around the Promo Steem initiative and Promo Mentors is we're looking to address this retention problem. So the retention of Steemians is a problem, like we've just discussed. And so what happens is these new guys come, and they come maybe through Promo Steem, and they leave. And you've got all these different minnow schools dotted all over the place. So one of the things we want to do is try to unite the minnow schools in some way, and try to get them talking to each other and passing information between each other and passing users between each other, and sharing mentors, so that there's a bigger pool of mentors that are happening there, and it's a bigger community. The other thing that we want to do is, as they come through the Promo Steem initiative and they're brought in by a Promo Steemian or by a Steem ambassador, we want them to be passed on to a series of blogs, right? We want the new Steemian to write, say, 5 or 6 blogs, and the content of those blogs would be such that by the time they finish the 5th blog, they've gone through a range of activities within the Steem community. So by the time the 5th blog's finished, they don't just think Steem's a blogging platform. They think it's a massive community to do all sorts of things for business, for entrepreneurs, for video streaming, memes, and so on and so forth, for coders, for developers, for all sorts of things, right? And this is something that hasn't been done yet on Steem, and it's actually pretty easy to set up. So I'm going to be having a meeting with a couple of guys. One of the guys is at Dan at Starlight from the Steam Birds. Another guy is Entrepreneur 916. Another guy is at Future Thinker, and a few other dudes and ladies. We're going to have a small team that we're just going to discuss about what we think the ideal Steemian looks like, and then try and work out what the ideal or the quickest route in 5 blogs is to get to that ideal Steemian, to get someone from zero to that Steemian that now understands, oh, my life, Steem isn't just about blogging. And then at the end of that 5th blog, or during that 5th blog period, try and get a few whales to upvote people in the same way that people upvote people when they do their introduction posts. So now you have a kind of learning by doing situation with a reward at the end. And by the time that reward is given, the new Steemians are very unlikely to leave, or there's got to be a really exceptional reason for them to leave. So we should help to solve the attrition problem. And also, by the time they finish those 5 blogs, they should have enough of a reputation and a following around them to actually have started, making some money off their blogs. So that's one of the things that's relatively set up that I think we want to try and do over the next sort of coming weeks and months.
I honestly think that is also very interesting for people who have been longer on the platform, not just the newbies, because even I am still struggling with things that you learn during the way. I've learned a lot about the blockchain, and I already know that it's way more than just blogging. But I know for a fact that I could learn a lot more about how to, engage with my audience, or how to promote stuff, or even how to write. I think it's not only interesting for the newbies.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, that actually. What we're going to do is, all the guys on the team are experienced Steemians, and we don't want to make it our decision. What we'll do is we'll put a framework together, what we think it looks like, and issue it to the community. So people like you, Snekky, can basically comment on that, add your thoughts, and then we'll try to incorporate the things that we think we've missed, and then issue a kind of a well reviewed within the community 5 blogs, and what the content of those blogs needs to be in order to educate the Steemian. Yeah, and you're right. Be them new or be them more experienced. Maybe it ends up that we end up doing 2 series. It's like, okay, have you been on Steem for 1 year? Complete these 5 blogs, and you'll become an advanced 1-year-old Steemian or whatever. Maybe there's even some sort of rating system where we can gamify that process as well to be built in there. But I do know that certain people are gamifying actions on the Steem blockchain, and I'm in touch with a couple of those people. So we will be trying to incorporate that in some way to that system. But yeah, I completely agree, Snekky, that we should be, there's Steemians who have been on Steem for a long time that still, they've missed the information, they haven't had time to learn it, or they don't feel confident as what they feel other people are around them regards to how Steem works. And of course, the more we can all educate each other on those things, the more we all benefit, because we can build more and more cool stuff as a result.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying that, even those of us that are, really thinking about it deeply and what we do with it, and those people that are involved in, creating the apps and the projects on the platform, even they are learning new things every day. And that's, I'm learning so many new things about it every day. And I think you're right. There's this, is there anybody that really knows everything that's going on? Well, no, I don't think there is. And the more that, as Matt said, that we can continue to educate each other, I think that can only be helpful, particularly for, driving creativity and driving new ideas and new things that appear on the blockchain. And, really, it for me, it beggars belief that the Steem blockchain isn't even more highly rated than it already is, because there's so many cool things we can do with it. And I think one of the, as Matt said, one of the biggest things, and this really worked for me because I'm not really a blogger. It's not really my thing. I do write blogs, but, I find it quite challenging to sit down and write. I certainly don't do it every day. And really realizing that this has got something for creative people It's got something for developers. It's got something for thought leaders. It's got something for pretty much everybody. It may not yet have been built, but what I'm loving is the fact that people are just getting together and either on their own or in communities growing, small collaborations or big ones like what MSPWaves is. And just being able to go, right, we've built a community and now we're going to find clever ways of sustaining it and clever ways of making it really valuable. And that's just genius and beautiful.
Yeah. One of the things here is the rest of the blockchain world also still thinks that Steem is a blogging platform. And so as a result, listening to what Ned said about 6 months ago, where he thinks there's going to be 100,000 businesses on the Steem blockchain. Well, that's kind of yet to come to fruition. But as it slowly starts to happen, as the first of these businesses start to come out and people see that they're making profits, people see maybe that once SMTs come out, that they can issue tokens and fund themselves via those tokens. The value of Steem will be seen to be vastly undervalued, in my opinion. It really is priced in at a blogging platform at the moment, and it potentially, could you be talking about maybe 1% of the whole Steem ecosystem being a blogosphere in the future? I think that's really realistic, and so that the sky's the limit, and there's all sorts of things that are going to happen, along with some of the forks that are coming up from the main dev team. I mean, there could be some amazing adjustments made to the Steem blockchain that just make it so awesome, and we're just really excited to be. I guess really excited and really fortunate to be in a position where we feel that we understand it well enough to build, to get the right people together and actually build communities and build actual profit-generating projects on top of the Steem blockchain, using that as a mechanism. And and hopefully we'll all, we really, really hope, and one of the main things that we're doing this for is that we'll be able to benefit so many people, because we'll be able to direct the capital to the people who are creating the value for clients or for investors or for an initiative that's got funding behind it, and therefore distribute the money to the people who are making content around those initiatives and reward them more money as a result, because the investor holds a pot of Steem or the client holds a pot of Steem. And so as a result, we can see ourselves paying hundreds of writers very, very, very good, much better than they're getting paid at the moment, because at the moment there a lot of people who are blogging are searching for content and searching for ideas every day. But as time goes on, they'll be able, and we set up these projects that we're building, they'll be able to actually come to our site and see pre-created content that people want to be written and that people will pay for. So as that content gets written, we will set up systems to make sure we catch that and pay it. And it means that, writers will be able to make a lot more than they do now, whilst also benefiting a client for an initiative that they want to build. And so that's one of the things that we're working on at the moment.
Yeah, and you guys have said a lot there, and it all stems back to the evolving process of people finding out about the blockchain, to joining the blockchain, to learning about it, and progressing and growing on it as well. And of course, everybody out there is going to have a different experience with it. We always, of course, tell everybody, do your own research. You're going to have to look this stuff yourself, but there are projects and initiatives being created and that may already exist out there that can help you learn, that can create these different communities for you to join and chat with people and ask questions. I don't think any one person is an expert of all of this stuff, but all of the minds combined can certainly do a lot, and it's really cool to see the things that you guys have helped be a part of and to see it still going on, the Promo Steem initiatives and, these other new projects that you're creating now. And, if you are somebody that's out there and you've been on the blockchain for a little while and you may be feeling, discouraged because your posts aren't doing so well, and things like that, and maybe you're not finding the value in it that maybe you thought you were going to find, try looking into some of these other projects that are out there in these different communities and things like that. I mean, there's no guarantees that it will work, but it's at least something you can try. A big part of being on this blockchain is effort, I think, and I think some people do hear about it from whoever and they think that they can just join and make money, and it really isn't always the case. It takes a lot of networking. It takes a lot of putting yourself out there and joining these different, communities and projects and There's just a lot involved with it, and the things you're talking about are opportunities that people can look into for, expanding their network here on the Steem blockchain.
Exactly. And this is a problem that we see. We see a lot of people come, they post, they put their heart and soul into their blogs, which in my opinion you probably shouldn't do initially. You should probably put in the time as to what you think you should be paid for, which might be a few cents at that time in your early career in Steem. But you slowly build your blogs, and at the moment, a lot of people haven't got the patience or the sort of wherewithal about them to stick with that. And the problem is that those people then disappear. They might have been great bloggers, and Steem essentially loses those people. They might tell their friends, "Then I'd never got paid on that. It was false." So if there's projects like what we're building, that people actually go and find what it is that people with significant amounts of Steem want to be written, then they have an opportunity to write about that. And as long as they're happy to do that, it's all voluntary, of course. And then they might be able to appeal to that significant Steem holder and actually earn a living from it. And if we can provide a range of projects to do that with, we really have an opportunity to provide writers with all sorts of benefits as a result. So that's just one project. We've got sort of 6 or 7 individual projects that we're working on at the moment. And actually we're kind of at this risk of overstretching our, as they call it in the industry, bandwidth. I don't necessarily like that phrase, but the idea that we're full and we're sort of working on one thing at a time. So we are looking to do collaborations with people. We are looking for people to come and talk to us and discuss the ideas with us, and maybe we can end up doing collaborative projects that we build in unison with people, as opposed to just keeping it all to ourselves and taking it a lot longer to develop. But we have so many interesting ideas almost every day. The challenge is more trying to choose the right one as opposed that's going to be the most valuable, and having the patience to wait for that to come along, as opposed to just jumping on everything the first time it comes along. And this is a beautiful experience for me and Dylan at the moment, because it's something that, as we've understood what Steem is, and we've had the time to think about what could be done with that, it's like every other day. It's just a new thing that can happen, and it blows our mind, really. We can't, for some reason, for that reason, really, just can't stop talking about Steem, and can't wait to see what businesses get developed on it, and therefore make everyone else's lives sustainable on here. Because I've always believed that if it's just a blogging platform, it relies on investors putting new Steem in to then pay out to pay out to bloggers who are going to take that off the platform, which is fine, but that contributes to a downward pressure on the Steem price. And I think that the Steem price is up mostly because of speculation, along with the rest of the cryptocurrency community at the moment. But as time goes on, if we just keep blogging, we'll end up putting more and more pressure on Steem, as people's regular bloggers have a regular sell of Steem into the market. And as we start getting involved in these value creation projects where people are encouraged to hold Steem because there's an incentive, because they can build a community or get activities done because they hold Steem, and then if we can manage that Steem on behalf of them, all of a sudden we have a situation where you have a buying pressure on the price of Steem, and that makes the blogosphere incredibly sustainable as well as everything else.
Yes, and everybody, we are hanging out tonight with Starkers and Anarcho Tech here on the Steem Radio Show. It is certainly wonderful having you all here with us tonight on MSP Waves. We are coming up on the top of the hour here in just a moment here. We have another hour of the show, so we hope you'll stick around here with us. And of course, if if anybody in the audience has questions for our guests, you certainly can ask those as well, and we'll let them, of course, answer which ones they want to answer. Let's see here. I did ask if anybody did have questions. Somebody's wondering, where do we see Steem in 5 years? And I mean, of course, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know, but it's up to you guys. Do you want to kind of answer that? What your opinion on where things could be in 5 years even? I know, right? It's a broad question.
I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, it's a broad question.
If you're asking me where I think it will be, I don't hope. I hope it's going to be something that people from all over the world see great utility and value in. I think it's certainly got the massive potential to go that way. I think there are lots of threats Some of them from within, the Steam ecosystem themselves. Some of them from from outside of it. Where's it going to go? Holy shit, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of a broad question, but
yeah,
I mean,
I think I'm kind of
yeah,
I'm kind of more in it for the journey than the
exactly.
destination.
And that's a good way to look at it, I think, too. It really, as one of our DJs here, Scaredy Cat Guide, said, he said, "We come for the money, but we stay for the friends." Right. So I mean, that seems to be a good thing, and the community aspect is really important. So, yeah, I agree there. Again, everybody, we are hanging out with Starkers and Anarcho Tech here. It is the Steem Radio Show with myself, Main Event, and my co-host, Poetic Snake. Snekky, are you still here with us?
Yep, I'm still here.
Wonderful.
There was a question here about the debt tolerance from Mino. Now I'm no expert on this, but regards to the Steam-backed dollar being a debt and the debt tolerance being 10%, the whole point in the white paper of that is that we don't end up issuing more debt than, say, for example, the US government has issued, and have a kind of debt that's like 3 or 4 times GDP. So with the Steam price, as long as we keep the debt at 10% of the market cap of Steam, I mean, I don't see that being an issue. I think it's quite a useful use of debt. If anyone came to me and said they only had 10% of their portfolio in debt or of their savings in debt, then they can obviously pay them off very easily, and it remains quite a stable thing. What you want to watch out for, in my opinion, is as that creeps up, which is inevitable with people, especially in a centralized system. So if the debt goes from 10 to 12% to 13 to 14 and on up to 100%, then you have a problem, right? But as time goes on, I think that in a decentralized community such as Steem, especially people who fully understand that issue, which I think most people are here because they understand the problems with the debt in the current financial system, then I don't think you'll see us going much past 10 or 20% maybe as time goes on. And if we do go past that, then there'll be mass opposition to that, I think. So I think the community will self-sustain around 10%, which is pretty cool. And if you all don't know what that means, my understanding of it is that the Steam-backed dollar is a debt instrument, so it's issued as debt that will be eventually returned back to the $1 value. And the way that the algorithms within the system are set up are such that they can adjust the amount of steam inside a Steam-backed dollar so that it brings the price of the Steam-backed dollar back down to $1 and pays an interest rate on that if it goes below $1, so that we can have a very, very low risk investment in Steam-backed dollars. At the moment, it's fantastic because the speculation is driving the price up. But this is where the question comes, how much of that in terms of market cap of Steem do you want, so that it becomes 10, 20, 30% of the market cap of Steem and you start to have a debt instrument that's unstable maybe. So it's an interesting debate. I wouldn't say that I know much more than that on it and would want to go into the detailed mechanisms of it. But yeah, the Steam-backed dollar, as long as it stays below 10%, I think will be more than fine. And I look forward to seeing the community regulate that to make sure it stays around 10%.
Yeah, I'm really glad that Matt answered that question because he's much more of a numbers guy than I am. For the last few nights, I got to tell you this: we've been poring over a spreadsheet or two, or 7 or 100, as it seems like to me, and I've just got this like massive aversion to spreadsheets. And he's really good at them.
I love spreadsheets.
Yeah, he loves them. He's such an engineer at heart and a project manager, and they just drive me potty. It has to be said. I'm much more happy to sit there and talk through things, and then get stuck into actually building and developing things. I'm one of those people that I can get into a project and I'm kind of building it and creating vast, crazy worlds with it. And Matt's pulling me back all the time and going, no, we need to do our spreadsheets. We must do the numbers. The numbers must be right. And it drives me insane. So thanks, Matt, for answering that question, which I don't think I could have answered anything like as succinctly as you could. Well done, mate.
So yes, guys. So I know you have another project that you're working on. You did mention it earlier a little bit. So why don't you, if you'd like, you can talk about this new project you're working on. So kind of explain it to me. So from what I kind of understand, you're you're bringing kind of creators together so that they can kind of collaborate within a community, right? So kind of explain what your new project is.
Yeah. Matt, are you okay if I have a... This is one of those moments, by the way, like trying to Steam is, and I said before, you never explain it in the same way. So I'm going to try and explain it to obviously, so everybody here, hopefully who's listening, understands to a pretty good level about the Steem blockchain. Effectively, what we're looking to do is to marry a couple of things together. So the overriding factor of all of this is that we want to add value to the Steem blockchain. Okay, so that's like the big motivation, if you like, and really, everybody has different ideas about how to add value to the blockchain, and for us, it's kind of about being able to use the blockchain to be able to positively influence things in the real world. Okay, now in order to do that in the world that we live in, there's certain things that you've got to get in place. Obviously, we need to get capital into pots in order to be able to use that capital to distribute new Steem towards these great things that are happening, really positive things that are happening, which add value both to the blockchain and in the real world. So step one is kind of us going out to the real world, and particularly we've been looking at companies that are already involved in the blockchain sphere, or at least have a good understanding of it, and encouraging them to come and hold Steem effectively. And they don't really want to get involved in it too much. So we encourage them to delegate their new Steem that they've brought in to us, and we effectively build communities that can make things happen in the real world. Now, these investors may want to encourage certain things. So they might want to see a particular type of real world work. That could be anything. I mean, it really could. It could be tapping into the wisdom of the crowd who are already discussing things in the blockchain sphere, because to get an understanding of things like sentiment in the ecosystem is really useful for people when they're looking to decide which ICOs should they invest in, what are things that they think have got legs. Because obviously the crowd, and particularly where you have a crowd like in the Steem community, they're pretty well educated for the most part about what blockchain is, what blockchain can do, what are some of the cool things that are happening with it. And by having a big pool of interesting and smart people that can look at it with lots of different eyes, you can find things out of real value there. And these people would probably be doing this anyway. And what we want to do now is be able to reward them with large pots of Steem from their investors. So one really good example is we've come across some guys that are building a massive multiplayer online video game. And one of the things that they want to do, this is going to be, this particular video game is going to pay people out in crypto as well. So they're going to have they've got their own coin, and effectively, guys can go on and run around and shoot things and buy new weapons and things like that. So they realized that what they want is to build a community around this. And they have a marketing budget. They've done an ICO, they've raised money. In the past, what they might do with a marketing budget is, let's say they had $100,000. Well, they'd go and spend that on various marketing activities. And once it's spent, it's gone. They'll never see that money again. And they're just kind of really hoping that they're going to get a return on investment. So what would happen if, instead of putting that 100,000 into marketing activities that are just going to get spent in one go effectively on things like Twitter and Facebook and all the different advertisements, if we could actually use that to encourage people not only to, click on an ad, but actually to encourage them to go and participate in the game and be the people that are there right at the beginning. And they're not only are they earning crypto from the game, but they're actually being, rewarded through the client's pot of Steem for both playing and talking to their friends about it, and effectively being, if you like, the ambassadors for their game. And what they're also going to get is a load of amazing beta testers that are effectively voluntarists. So it's a really interesting way of building a community up around a particular thing, and seeing how an interested and engaged community can help that particular company grow their massive online game. So there's kind of benefits all around. The client benefits because, well, they're not spending their Steem tokens. Yeah, they're effectively utilizing the newly mined Steem to reward people for engaging in a meaningful way, and hopefully they're having fun along the way, and they're providing something of real use. So that's one interesting, real world business type thing that we're involved in, and there's loads of different ideas. So from the user's point of view, well, we can now find people, and we're finding this more and more in the developing world, particularly in places like Africa and Venezuela, and all over, really, that there's some really, really brilliant content producers out there, and they're doing all sorts of different things. They're not just writing blogs. They're doing, they're building adult education centers, places like Stack in Nigeria, and they're teaching people about the Steem blockchain and how, it can actually make a massive benefit in their community. So you've got lots of people that are suddenly that are really smart, that are well educated, that are, very keen to help grow their own local communities. And they're realizing that by adding value via the Steem blockchain, they've got a way of getting paid. But when you marry that up with clients who want continuous content, for example, of a really high level, well, then suddenly you've married up these two very useful parties, the clients and the content writers. And then you've got to kind of have something in between that ensures that everybody is working to the high standard of quality that is going to make the clients feel good about putting even more Steem into the ecosystem, putting more money into the Steem blockchain. And so it becomes quite circular, that effectively people that want to be involved, and as I said, this is all, we just want to, if you like, create great opportunities for people to earn money via Steem, which can grow their communities in their local area, particularly, in the developing world where, wages are nowhere near as high. And we're starting to see that happen already. And what we're really looking to do is just build on that and make it wider and with much, much bigger pots of investment than we've managed to get with Promo Steem, because it's coming from the outside. And that's not to say that Promo Steem isn't important. Of course it is, and we want to encourage people to keep supporting that, to keep growing that community. But now we're very interested in, well, can we keep helping the whole Steem community by bringing this new investment, which has the benefit of doing things like driving the price up. Okay, so it's applying the pressure on the buying side and pushing the price up, which is, let's face it, if you're holding Steem, that's great. But really, it's that connection between people that want to be creating great content, and they can choose to do whatever they want to do, and being able to get help from being engaged with these really cool projects that want to pay them out. It's kind of a bit of a win-win situation, and that's really what we're involved in right now. And we went a few weeks ago to Cyprus to a blockchain conference, and we were asked to speak there, and we kind of used it as a bit of an opportunity to talk about this. not least to see if what Matt and myself had spent months talking about was actually something of real value. If people thought it was here from outside of the Steem blockchain. And what was interesting is it was overwhelmingly, people loved it. They thought it was such a brilliant thing that you could do on a blockchain. And I got to tell you, I absolutely mean this. You know, we spoke to about over a 2 or 3 day period. We had about 50 people approach us at one blockchain event and say, what you're doing is amazing. How can we work with you? And, you know, we've been keeping in touch with all of these people, and obviously some are much further on than others. And, you know, what's coming out of it is serious amounts of investment are being talked about. Really cool projects. You know, we've had things where people are saying, well, we're involved in a project in Africa, which is building affordable homes for people, and we're getting it backed by the government. How can we, you know, leverage the blockchain and the people in this particular country to, you know, really get involved in helping to grow this community and this idea? And do you know what? People absolutely loved it. And, you know, in our conversations with people in that country, they're saying to us, yeah, we can make this happen. This is great. This would really help us. You know, please, you know, make this happen. So, you know, look, we're only, you know, a few guys, and you know, we're going to have to do a lot of work at really helping build all of these communities and hoping that they get to a point of being self-sustaining. And that's kind of where we're at the moment. We're building the back end to make all of that happen, and we're pretty close to that now. We're started to get very, very far on with some of these clients. And, you know, it's really exciting because we can see it starting to come into action in the next, literally, hopefully, few weeks. You know, Matt's always going to pull me back and tell me never to overpromise, and you know, and I think that's important. But you know, we're really getting somewhere with it, and real people that are outside of the Steem blockchain community, people who never even heard of it, are genuinely talking about investing large sums of money into it. And we're blown away by that. You know, we're blown away that really what I think they liked was this message of using the blockchain to do things in the real world that have value.
Can I just add to that as well? The key kind of selling point, or one of the key selling points that we've got, is this campus guild that we've set up, where multiple people can control a pot of Steem via their upvotes, and then if any 3 of those people vote for the same piece of content, the pot of Steem will upvote that piece of content. So what it means is we have the ability now to remove the kind of central pot holder of Steem, or the whale, from the upvoting process, but not just on a one-to-one upvote, but where multiple people from a community have to vote in order to distribute that fund to a particular blog or to a particular user. And what that means is that we can apply that system on behalf of our clients into communities where they want to distribute Steem in an open, transparent way, where they don't really have control over where the money's spent. The actual community itself has control over that money and where it's spent. And so as a result, you end up, for example, with the situation in Haiti at the moment with Oxfam, and this thing about, you know, prostitutes being paid with charity money. Well, this solves that problem, because now a charity could hold a pot of Steem on the Steem blockchain with our community, and allow a local community that they're serving to be elected, or to elect representatives to then distribute that Steem locally to projects that they're trying to build in the local area. And so it completely changed, you know, it makes all, because it's on the Steem blockchain, all of that fund distribution is transparent. You can add and remove people from the distribution list based on their behavior that's documented on the Steem blockchain. So if they behave in a corrupt way, you can remove them from the list, and therefore they no longer have the power to distribute the funds. And so stuff like that is really interesting to us. And we got a lot of reception in Cyprus in the presentations that we did, with some of these projects that need that service. They need a transparent, open way to distribute funds into a community via what the community wants itself. And we can do that now using the Steem blockchain. And it's just, to me, that's mind-blowing, and I can't wait to see how we apply that going forward. There's about 3 different projects we're currently working on behind the scenes that actually are looking to use that model. And then the other option is that we can centralize the distribution model for the client. So if they want a purely centralized model where only 1 or 2 people from their organization decide where the funds are distributed to the writers, then they can have that just as easily as well. And so you have this tailorable model for each client that's involved, each investor that's involved. And yeah, it's just really excites me. Am I all right saying that, Dylan? Am I right there? Anything else from you?
Yeah, I think that's great. Let's talk about a little more if you want. I mean, I'm very good with it.
Cool. So one of the projects that we're working on is a housing project in Ghana. I think Dylan might have mentioned it a bit earlier, but the idea there is that they're going to ICO a housing project, not related to the Steem blockchain, just do a normal ICO. So normal investors can invest in that ICO. Any private investor can invest, and then the local residents will use that coin to pay the rent on their housing. But because it's an ICO, they can do it very, very cheap. Now, the idea is because it's a housing project, you can get the local government to back that with fiat. So if it goes to zero, the local government will pay out the investors to the value of the fiat they originally invested. So there's virtually no risk for the local for the private investors, and it's very similar to holding a US debt bond, where the risk is very, very low. There's a very low interest rate return as a result, but you've got almost zero risk of losing your money. Then what we would do. The problem is the countries that we talk about are developing countries, so they don't have economies set up to keep their people in the area. So they leave as they call it the brain drain, right, where all these countries are losing people. So what we would do is ICO this housing project, get the government to back it, so the government doesn't spend any money, and then what you have is a situation where you have to keep the local people in the area with an economy, so that they can continue to pay the rent in a sustainable way for the investors going forwards. And that's how you kind of fund the projects. Now, in order to remove government corruption, what you would have is you'd have a government hold a pot of Steem, maybe $1 million or $2 million worth of Steem. And then that government would use the campus guild system to distribute funds into the local community to build economies, to build local businesses that then become sustainable over time. And once those businesses start generating profits, you can then hand over that pot of Steem to the next project and remove the support, basically, and have all these sustainable projects being used to buy the original ICO token to pay the rents, which would then be very, very, very low, maybe 3 or 4% a year rent, so that you can create a small passive return to the investors, but also make sure that the people who were originally going to leave during the brain drain of the country are now able to stay, because they can afford the rents, right? And there's also a local economy for them to stay. And you can use the Steem blockchain to provide the distribution of those funds, not from the government, but from the local community itself, who can then distribute the funds amongst each other. And because it's on the Steem blockchain, it's traceable, right? Everyone can see where the money went. And as a result, you have an open, transparent project that's backed by the government that isn't distributed necessarily directly from government or corruptible people, which we all know are very well corrupt. So yeah, there's all these possibilities with this model, and I mean, we could go on for hours talking about the different types of applications that this model can have to projects in the real world, using the Steem blockchain as a mechanism for transparent reward distribution. So and that, to me, as far as I know, that is the first time it's been done in history. So it's really exciting to me, and we can't wait to get involved in these projects.
Yeah, it's certainly pretty interesting to hear about it, and if people are interested, they can certainly look into those things. As we always say, always do your own research.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
certainly cool to see all the different things that are possible, really with this type of information and the projects that you're working on, and it's really fascinating. If anybody in the audience has questions, feel free to put those in the audience chat right now. We are chatting on Discord right now in the Peace, Abundance, Liberty server, of course, home of the Minnow Support Project, and we're in the MSPWaves audience chat room right now. Snekky just shared your guys' blog links a couple of times there. But yeah, if anybody in the audience has questions for Starkers or Anarchotech, certainly let us know. Guys, if there's a few more things you want to mention about that project, go right ahead.
Anything from you there, Dylan?
Well, to be honest, we could go on. So it's kind of challenging to know where to begin.
Where do you
really.
see maybe any things coming up planned that you have, or anything that people can watch for maybe in the near future in regards to it?
Well, one thing that's happened, and I that we haven't talked about mentioning this or not, but we'd been asked a few times if we could go to Indonesia and a few other countries, and I think we agreed a couple of days ago that we are going to go to Indonesia. We're going to go and speak at a blockchain event out there, and there's other events that we'd really like to go and speak at. There was one coming up literally in a couple of weeks that we were asked to go and speak at, and unfortunately we had to politely decline. We are just so busy getting on with this project. It would have been absolutely amazing to go there. But time is very pressing at the moment. But Matt, I take it it's okay to say this. You haven't interrupted me, so it does look like we're going to be out in. We're going to get to go out and speak in Indonesia. We're going to be speaking in. Is it Athens as well? There's a big blockchain event out there that's coming up. And
actually, in the Athens one, it's from the University of Nicosia, and they're the oldest blockchain university where they teach course in blockchain. They've been doing that since about 2013, and they've got quite a reputation in Europe. And they're trying to bring the likes of Vitalik Buterin and the likes of Christine Lagarde, the ex-head of the IMF, together on the same stage, or at least in the same event.
And I would love to get on the same stage as Christine Lagarde.
Well, it'd be wonderful to see Dylan on the same stage as Christine Lagarde, because he's an anarchist. So we don't know what's going to happen there. It could be
an anarchist and a former head of the IMF. It's always going to end well.
It could be interesting. What else have we got coming up? The other thing that we've got coming up in the near future is with our development team, we're going to launch essentially what is our curation package. In order to bring the curators and the writers and the clients together into the same place. So it won't be directly on the Steem blockchain, but it'll use the Steem blockchain to reward people. So that's something we're bringing up in the near future. We're working hard on that at the moment, really looking forward to it. Another couple of things are we've got 3 or 4, I think it's 3 clients tomorrow that we're giving proposals to. We've got about another 4 or 5 coming up in the next week or two. And these are all for significant pots of Steem. So we're trying to accumulate these investments from our clients. In the near future, we'll be bringing them on and starting to grow communities. So one of the things I want people to look out for is if you are a writer or a blogger, or you are just someone that wants to interact with blockchain technology and earn a little money for doing it, you'll be able to go onto this website that we're going to build and see all the projects that we're working on, and then choose which one you want to contribute to, and essentially read what the tasks are on there. Write your blogs about the fact that you've completed those tasks, be it join an exchange, be it translate a document, be it review an ICO, be it do some sort of action or promotion work in the real world for that project. There's a multitude of actions we'll end up writing about. The instructions will be on the website. You do them, you post them as blogs to show that you've done them. And then the pot of Steem that we will control will be looking to upvote you for that work. So you'll be able to get paid for getting involved with these communities now. And that's something we're bringing to the blockchain in the very, very near future in the next few weeks. So we're really looking forward to that and can't wait to kick that off, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do watch this space. We know that, we've already been contacted by a good number of people in the community who, have said, how can I get involved and how can I help? And, we're just ever so grateful for all the help that people are offering. And we've had all sorts of, haven't we? We've had people going, hey, can we do some graphics for you and make it easier? Can we maybe understand the model so we can build easy to follow infographics? I was talking to a friend of mine today who's a steamer. He's a video guy. We took our kids to the fair together here in Huddersfield, and we had a good chat. And we were talking about, being able to, I haven't even told Matt this, he was happy to help with putting together promotional videos to explain things and to, really, really help people to get stuck into this stuff if they want to do. So, we're becoming very blown away at the help that we're getting, and some of it's absolutely genius. Yeah, the people are just coming up with great ideas all the time, and at the moment, I think we're at a point where we can almost not reply to everybody. We're literally, struggling to find time sometimes. So if you are one of those people and you've written to us recently and we replied, please don't think we're ignoring you or anything. The likelihood is that, we've been sat on a 6-hour call with a client or something, and that genuinely is happening, sometimes every day. It's absolutely nuts. I think we had a 5-hour call with someone 2 nights ago. It finished at about 2:30 in the morning. And it would have gone on for another hour, if we weren't just completely wasted and had to go to bed. And so, yeah, it's a busy time.
One of the other projects that we've got coming up, and we're starting filming on in the near future, mid-June it's going to be. We've got a Premiership footballer who we've approached, and essentially what we're going to do for him is set up an international football academy with his name on it. And the idea being that in the same way that promo Steem proliferated around the world, we want this to grow as well. And what we'll do is we're going to meet him in a couple of weeks. We're going to bring a small group of young footballers together, a training coach and him, and get a video camera there, a bit of a barbecue, get some music going as well for the kids and whatever, film the whole day and get them doing training sessions for the kids with this Premiership footballer. The idea being then that we'll be able to release those blogs onto the Steem blockchain through this academy, and then he will fund a pot of Steem and essentially upvote Steemians who are playing football using this training course, right? And so we'll be able to reward hundreds of young people all over the world who are going to play football now. And I know that Ejime, for example, Ejime has a serious group of people out there in Nigeria who are already playing football. And I also know that other people are starting to play football around the world. So this should inspire a lot of young people to get involved in football. And just really, really looking forward to that, because that's kind of the first time we've managed to roll out a training scheme. We'll have a very similar model and set up to the Promo Steem model, where the ambassadors are the sort of best promoters. So the best football coaches will become what the ambassadors are, which is the oracles, basically. And they'll be able to be in charge of distributing the rewards around the world to young footballers who are playing football. So that's just really going to it's blowing my mind at the moment. We're able to set that up, and we've got links with the right people to make that happen. So looking forward to that over the next couple of weeks as well. We'll be filming. We won't be releasing the actual course, but we'll be filming the trainings.
That sounds really awesome. That's really cool that so many different people are utilizing it. Now, I know you said you guys are really busy, and somebody earlier in the chat had kind of mentioned, so if someone is out there, let's say, and they have an idea and they have a project that they want to work on, whether it's regardless of really what it is, how could someone maybe approach your project at some point to possibly get some help in that process? What should they do in that regard?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think at the moment, probably the best way to do that is probably just hit us up on Discord at the moment, or send us an email. They can send something to info@oracle-d.com, and we'll be happy to we'll get that email. We're happy to answer it. Just so you know, one of the things that I think that we might move to in the future, and obviously we've got to set a lot up in the beginning first, but I'd really like to see us being able to build on projects where things like humanitarian and charitable organizations can come in. And instead of, once again, it's that thing about, maybe they've got a pot of money to spend on certain things. And we're very into the idea of don't give him a fish, teach him to fish, and ideally give him, help him to get the tackle, and you've kind of solved the problem, and letting people get involved in things to really help themselves. I see a time where we can build things like that in and let organizations from around the world get involved in their own projects. But equally, I'm really interested in the idea of bringing micropayments to projects as well to bolster them up. So imagine that we had something like, I don't know, the guy who's the Premiership footballer setting up his football coaching academies, and you got particular people who they like giving, they like to be able to donate a little bit of their money every month to charity. Maybe it doesn't have to be much, maybe a few dollars here and there. But obviously at the moment, I think a lot of people are aware that the big charitable organizations are, well, they're in a lot of trouble because by being so centralized, their reputations are taking a beating because of the what some people are doing. Things like the finance of it and where the money goes is not clear. I see a time when people will be able to go, look, I've got a project that I want to run it in my local area, and this is what we need to support it. And it's almost like a crowdfunding thing where we can start to bring in micropayments onto the system, which are a bit like people giving to Oxfam every month, but it's not just going to go and pay Oxfam directors' salaries and fund people to have little jollies and do dodgy things out in disaster areas. So it's actually something that's really provable. So if I'm giving my $10 a month or something, I can actually see where that's going. I can see what's happening. I can see it's provable if I want to go and check it out. If I go and give $10 to the Red Cross, I don't actually know where my money's going. So I see it as a way, perhaps, of humanitarian and charitable projects from both sides being able to connect with each other, do it in a really transparent way, and also in a decentralized way as well. And that really excites me because, really once you've built the tech and you're dealing with vast sums of money coming in from investors to fund projects on the blockchain, the next logical step to me is to go, well, there's lots of people out there who want to put $10 a month in. Well, why not give them the opportunity to do that? And that's kind of where I see it might go, and something that we're kind of interested in. And if only there were 1 million of us that we could just clone and get all the work done quickly, that would be so cool. We'd have had it done by now. So that's what I'd like. I'd personally like to see that kind of thing happening. That's going to really grow utility on the blockchain. I'm not just talking about charity. I'm less into the idea of charity and more into the idea of people empowering themselves, and as just being able to really help them by the one thing that they might not have is capital. And if we can bring that in, and let me tell you, I know investors, I know them very well. I speak to, every single day I talk to people who are involved in, investment and finance and things like that, in a big way over here in the UK. And almost all of them, not all of them, but almost all of them, they have an ideology behind them. And a lot of them go, we've made a lot of money in our lives, more than we probably ever spend. I'd love to be able to do something to help people, but I don't really know where my money's going. I don't really know if it's doing the right good in the world. And, I only have so much time, so I can't get involved in the boards of, all these things. To be able to have a way of proving that their money is being used in a really positive and affirming and generous and useful way that's, really helping people out who are very committed to, getting stuck in to do it. They're hardworking, they're intelligent, they've got a lot going for them, but what they don't have is, just by virtue maybe of where they were born, which they couldn't help. They live in a place where, you know, there's a lot of unemployment, where wages are very low, where there's a lot of corruption, etc., etc. And I really, really want to be able to help those people to help themselves. And that's what I see for me, the real power is. Like I said at the beginning, you know, for me, I got into the blockchain sphere because I realized that as somebody that was interested in humanitarianism, and solving problems in the real world when the shit goes down, when the lights go off, when the tsunami hits, when there's a war, where there's conflict, you know, where there's famine and disease popping up. You know, if you can find ways of helping people in those places, well, that's beautiful, and I'll go to my grave really happy I managed to help people do that. And I see the blockchain as a way of being able to make that happen. Matt, go ahead.
That reminds me of a little story a few weeks ago where we had a group of guys in Nigeria, a young lady and 4 guys in Nigeria, who were helping us build our front end on one of our products. I think it's actually the Promo Steem website. They're trying to build our front end for us, which is really, really cool. They're doing a great job as well. And we had a bit of a meeting with them to sort of discuss where it was and what was going on and how we could help and all that stuff. And next minute, we find out that they haven't got an internet connection, and that they're using a generator to power the electricity to then bring the internet connection in. And they ended up getting in touch with us on a live stream with the generator running in the background, the internet going, you know. And these guys are building front ends on websites, you know, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant because, you know, us here in the UK, we would never dream of it being in a position where we have to run a generator to run the internet to then build our front end, right? Whereas these guys are doing it, you know, they're doing it voluntarily, and it's amazing to see. And they're great people, you know, they just want to help, they want to get involved with the projects, and we're just happy to work in collaboration with them, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we're seeing it all the time. You know, we're seeing incredible acts of both, you know, generosity and altruism, but also of people creating opportunities. It's not just about, you know, doling out money here and there to the needy. That's not really what it's about. It's about, you know, building collaborations between people so that you know, as Matt said before, and as I've said, you know, I'm an anarchist. I don't really trust the government. I don't really trust the banking system. You know, I don't see that it's helping the world to be a nicer place to live. And, you know, I think ultimately for me, I just want to make the world a nicer for, you know, myself, my family, my daughter, you know, and everybody around me. And by extension, it'd be nice if the whole world was a nicer place. So I don't really see how the governments and the banks are really doing a lot to help ordinary people. But I genuinely see technology like blockchain as being able to go some way into making these things happen. And really, for me, it's about seeing people doing things and bypassing the bloody governments and the banks that have just basically raped and pillaged the planet. And you know, good riddance to the lot of them, in my opinion. I hope that blockchain destroys them all. There, I said it. I know this is not necessarily the opinion of the radio show, but it's definitely mine.
Yeah, I think there's a really good quote from Dan Larimer, which says something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, that we can build the Steem blockchain, and I assume other blockchains as well, in a way that removes conflict resolution from governments, which I think is quite an interesting perspective on why he built the Steem blockchain. So, you know, as we go forwards, we're going to end up regulating ourselves, as far as I can tell. And there are actually multiple companies springing up at the moment outside of the Steem blockchain who are starting to look at how can we give people reputations on the blockchain to become regulators of the blockchain on behalf of the communities outside of the SEC and places like that. As a result, what will end up happening is that when the SEC makes a mistake, which they do all the time, the blockchain regulators who are from our communities will eventually show the public that the current regulation system is corrupt at its core. I mean, if you take, for example, just a quick example, Deutsche Bank has something, I mean, the world has something like $400 trillion of unfunded liabilities, mortgage-backed liabilities on its books. And Deutsche Bank itself has something like 30% of that or 25% of that on its own books. Well, where were the regulators when that happened, And it's just centralized regulation. It's as corruptible as any other centralized system. And we have an opportunity here as people who are, essentially pioneers. All of us on this radio show are pioneers in blockchain, and it's up to us to build the systems that build those centralized systems out of existence, essentially, and do it better than they do, such that we do such a good job that it's clear that those systems are obsolete. And this is what we have the opportunity to do today. So, we have to stay tight to that ideology, really, in my opinion. And one of the things that I see in blockchain today is a lot of money coming in. And as a result, you have this situation where a lot of the original guys who were, in it for the ideology to make a better world, they're getting corrupt by the money. And it is hard, yeah. As people make more money, they become more corruptible. And so we have to be careful and try to hold ourselves steady on this ideology of, can we build a better world with a decentralized nature where it's applicable? And we have this opportunity. We are the people to do it, So in years from now, hopefully people will write back and say, oh, those guys that got involved in Steem, those guys that got involved in Ethereum and all this stuff, they were the guys that changed the world for the better as we went forward. So it's just exciting times at the moment.
Yeah, it really is. I just saw Normac scored. He just wrote, destruction of those entities should be the goal. I think he's speaking about the banks and the government.
Yeah, the revolving door. If you're one of the Deutsche Bank guys, you will get appointed by the regulators to regulate Deutsche Bank afterwards.
Yeah,
it's just hilarious.
Absolutely. And I think most of us, the way the system works, we all know it's corrupt as anything, and I got into a really interesting conversation with someone when I happened to say this. And, they said, well, what can you do about it? And I said, well, you can't fight them because they've got all the guns and bombs and military and the police and batons and things like that. So you can't fight them. Not that I would ever suggest anybody ever did in that way, because it's a really silly idea. But what you can do is you can find ways to bypass them and make them obsolete. And I think we're very much on the early stages of being able to do that. At the moment, and some of the conversations that we've had with people over the last few weeks, it's absolutely bonkers. And I remember I was talking in Cyprus to the guy from the SEC, he was really big up there, and part of his job was to look at regulating cryptocurrency, and he was a really nice guy, actually. Ken, for a Superman, I thought that was really interesting. And he was actually a really nice guy. And we were, of course, him and I sit on very different sides of the fence. And I kind of asked him the direct question. So how are you going to do it? How are you going to regulate the crypto world to your satisfaction? And he went, I have absolutely no idea. I really don't know. I don't really think we are. We're kind of a little bit lost on this, and it's a little bit scary to the powers that be, which I think is brilliant and also quite dangerous as well, because these people don't go down without a fight. So it's going to be very interesting times how it pans out. I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I'm definitely in it for the journey.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're starting to run out of time here, so I want to take a moment if you guys want to kind of give some final thoughts here for our listeners. I know we talked about a lot of different things here on the show today, but we certainly appreciate you guys joining us. Starkers, was there any other kind of final comments you wanted to give to the audience out there?
I think he's dropped off,
Oh, okay. Well, would you like to, Narcotech?
Yeah, I'm always happy to talk, as you've probably figured by now. I think final thoughts for me are, first of all, a bit of a call to action for people that have heard the sort of things that we've said tonight and feel it resonates with them. If you're the sort of person that wants to be involved in, whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's Promo Steem or, Oracle D and working with some of the clients, please do, come and have a talk to us. If it's Promo Steem, there's already an amazing, thriving community on Discord. Please do go and have a word with in the Promo Steem channel with the likes of people like Future Thinker and some of the amazing people that are in there. I think if you've got some interesting ideas, or if you've got something that you think you can bring, please do come and talk to us. We are, as I said before, we are real busy, so I'm kind of hoping we don't get 1,000 messages. Because that would just take forever to go through. But if you think that you can add something, whether you're a writer or whether you think you could add value as an Oracle or a community manager, if you think you could add value as someone who can, maybe go, even who would like to go out there and be able to, be a voice as well that's helping bring these things in, please do. Please do come and talk to us about it. We'd love to connect with you. The more people, the great people that we get that are going to offer their support at this early stage, the easier it's going to be to kick some of these projects off. So, I think I'd just say a massive, thanks very much to, all the people that have come and supported us already, that are sending us messages every day saying, how can we get stuck in, that have, been involved in Promo Steem and making that successful. Thanks so much. It's really appreciated, and we've got a lot more things to do now. And I don't think either Starkers or myself have got a social life for about the next 6 months, but hey, that's okay.
Right.
We can have fun anyway.
And Starkers, are you here with us again? I saw you got disconnected there for a second. Are you here, Starkers? I see your... Looked like his name was lighting up, but I don't see him. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Or no. Okay.
I think he's here in spirit.
Okay.
So I'll just say a final thing to him, if I may, which is hopefully we've managed to put to bed any notions whatsoever this evening that we are in a romance. It's not true, and there's some nasty rumors flying around. Yes, we are definitely not in a bromance.
And Poetic Snake, did you want to add anything here before we say goodbye to our guests?
Obviously, I want to say thank you to Anarchotech and Starkers both for being here with us on the show. Very interesting, and I think you guys are doing a great job with everybody around you as well.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to see where everything is going, and I decided that I really need help. So it's just I'm going to talk to you guys.
I think we all need help sometimes, Perfect for it.
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes hard for people to realize or to say it out loud that you can't do it all by yourself, and sometimes you need to ask for a little bit of guidance or whatever, and just do it, just ask for it and see where it takes you.
Yeah, I quite agree. It's one of those things about letting go of your ego for long enough to be able to go, I genuinely need a bit of support and help here. And it is all about ego, not being able to know how to ask for that. And it's something that I genuinely, encourage people to work on and, see if they can find a way to navigate life in a much easier way. Make it easy for yourself,
Right.
Yeah, I think we humans tend to make it very hard on ourselves when it comes to asking for help or guidance. You see it here on the platform as well. I mean, there are so many people with great plans and great projects. It's just
absolutely. We've met so many amazing ones. I think for people that specifically that want help with Steem, the Steem blockchain, becoming better writers. I know Matt mentioned earlier that there's lots and lots of different, writing mentor groups around. Find the one that works for you. Find the people that can help you. They are out there. For example, I know, go have a look at Promo Mentors, go and have a talk to those guys, because they're brilliant. And it seems to me like some of them don't ever seem to sleep,
right.
And they just want to help people. It's brilliant. It's so lovely to see.
It is.
And so, but there's loads of them out there.
It is, and I certainly appreciate you guys taking the time to join us tonight and tell us about all these different projects. And there's so much out there that people can check out. I mean, they can certainly go check out the Promo Steem initiative. They can check out your Oracle project that you're working on. Snekky's shared the links a few times in the chat.
Yes.
So if people are interested, they can certainly check those out. But thank you so much, our Narco Tech, and of course to Starkers out there as well. He got disconnected there at the end, but certainly thank you to him as well. And just, a big thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thanks, everybody. And thanks to you two for running a great... It's really appreciated for having us on.
It was marvelous to have you both on.
It was both our pleasure.
Well, thank you very much, and we will certainly have you back on again, and you guys can give us another update in the future.
Love to do. That's great.
Wonderful. Thank you, and have yourself a great evening.
And you guys too. Take care, everybody. Bye for now. Give me a wave in the text if you're still awake.
Right? All right, everybody. So that was our interview tonight with both Starkers and Anarcho Tech. I hope you enjoyed that. That was a wonderful conversation. We actually filled the full 2 hours with those guys, so that was a lot of fun, wasn't it, Snekky? Snekky's lost. She's gone.
Oh my gosh, no, sorry. I was pushing the wrong button. I am such a noob. No, it was great. I learned so much, and I really enjoyed it.
We hope you have enjoyed the show tonight. We certainly will be posting the full audio recording of the show. I'll be sharing that on my blog later tonight on Steemit, so you can check that out. Snekky, if you want to share our blog links in the chat, feel free to do so. And of course, everybody, everything you heard on this show tonight was strictly just our opinions. We are not financial experts whatsoever, so do not take anything that we have said tonight as any kind of financial advice or advice or of any kind, really. We're here just for entertainment purposes only and kind of to provide our own opinions on things. Of course, MSPWaves Radio and its owners take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show hosts or our guests. Statements and show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of the radio station, and the material you hear on the Steem Radio show is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only.
Always do your own research.
Always do your own research. That is right.
Absolutely.
Snekky, we got a couple of minutes here left. Any final thoughts or anything for the audience out there?
Well, final thoughts. I like to call up a few names. Thank you, Creative Soul, Done Stuff, Essie, Creighton, Isaria, LL Forms, Maverick, Menno, Normac, Pensive, Ron, Don, Rika, Soundwave, Photon, Supersticks, The Buck IQ, Venus Story, and of course, Starkers and Anarcho Tech, and everybody else whose name I cannot see because they are listening somewhere else. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you all next week.
Yes, we had quite a few people listening tonight, so big shout out to everybody who did join us in the live audience. Of course, you can catch the live audience chat in the Peace, Abundance, Liberty Discord server, which of course is the home of the Ma1ne Support Project. You can find out more about the Ma1ne Support Project by visiting them on Steemit. It's at Ma1ne Support. And of course, you can find the full schedule of all the different MSPWaves radio shows, which are all hosted by Steemians. They're all hosted by people who are on the Steem blockchain. You can learn more about that at MSPWaves.com. And it's amazing how many different shows are on there now. Wednesdays are packed. There's so many shows now on Wednesdays. We even had a Utopian show today, which was pretty cool. So,
ooh, that's nice.
Yeah, so check it out. Lots of shows. DJ Damashi and the Dancing Dreamers, I believe, is on next here on MSP Waves. And of course, we are here each and every Wednesday night from 10 to midnight UTC time. So if you are maybe listening to the recording after the fact on Steemit, we do the show live every Wednesday, 10 to midnight UTC, and you can listen either on Discord or on MSPWaves.com. This is the Steem Radio Show. I go by the username Main Event on Steemit. I just spell it with a number 1 in there instead of the I. And I think Snekky's shared our blog links in the chat, so if you want to check us out, certainly appreciate your support of the show. We usually each do some kind of a post about the show each week, so if you want to support the show, you can certainly check those out. Give them a Steem if you're interested. And we hope you will be joining us next week. So, you want to say your goodbyes, Snekky?
Goodbye, Snekky.
All right, everybody. So, yes, this has been the Steem Radio Show with Main Event and Poetic Snake on MSPWaves. We will see you next time. Have a great night.